former acting secretary of the Department of Homeland Security under the Trump administration. Great to have you here. So this gunman was flagged at least twice in the hour before the shooting by local police and then by a sniper team that was monitoring the crowd. They took a picture of him, told police to find him, and even though they didn't find him, and I mean, he was acting oddly, so clearly something struck them, right?
Well, I think that's right. Anytime you identify someone as suspicious or having suspicious behavior, you want to check them out, right? You want to make sure that law enforcement interviews them, puts eyes on them, talks to them, and to assess and make that assessment on whether or not they are actually a real threat or perhaps they're just an odd individual. And so it doesn't appear as though that happened. It appears as though they identified the suspect, but did not intervene or interdict him. And I think that's what's troubling here, right? That's what the investigation hopefully will find is how did that happen?
How did that happen, and why did nobody stop Trump from going on stage? I mean, you've got both the Secret Service and the local police noticing this guy acting oddly. They say, go find this guy. They can't find this guy, and yet they still allow former President Trump to get on that stage.
I agree with you, and I think what's troubling here, and I think this will come down, and we'll find out in the investigation, is a communications issue. Once the local police started to identify that there was actually someone on that roof, right? I've been told and seen reporting where they try to get up on that roof and they fail to do that. The call should have gone out at that point that there's a suspicious individual. The president should have been ushered off stage. And then, of course, he could go back on stage once that threat was either identified or neutralized in some kind. But again, all of that didn't happen. It appears, we'll wait, but it appears that a number of mistakes were made here.
We now know that this suspect had pictures not only of former President Trump, but of President Biden in his phone, that he searched the dates of both the Trump rally and the Democratic National Convention. He also had pictures of, searched for information on Merrick Garland and Chris Wray. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me obviously he's troubled, one. Two, he's probably looking at a variety of different political figures. And whether President Trump obviously showed up kind of in his backyard, right?
Yeah.
This is the part of Pennsylvania where he's from, and so maybe he took that as an opportunity to do what he did. I don't know that we're really going to know, right, until the law enforcement, Secret Service, FBI, and others go through all of his materials and really try to figure out the motive behind this.
Yeah, he also searched for major depressive disorder, which seems to go to your point, that this is more a mental health issue rather than a political, ideological issue.
That's right, or it could be a combination of both, right? And again, we can speculate, we can take a guess at it. We won't know until his phone, until his email, and interviews, which they've been doing. They'll probably continue to do more of his friends, families, and neighbors really go through so you can get a picture of what he was thinking, what he was doing, the days leading up to the event as well.
He bought a gun, went to the gun. He didn't buy the gun. He took his dad's gun, but he went to the gun range the day before the shooting to practice. He bought some ammo the day of the shooting. He made 2 homemade bombs that could be set off by remote control. He did all this without any of his family or anyone else, for that matter, noticing. Is that odd to you?
Well, it's sure odd in my book. Every family's a little different, so how closely they were paying attention to their adult son, I think we have to remember he is an adult.
He was living with them,
I think that's up for question. He was. And so how involved his parents are in his life, I think all of that will come out. But you're right. These are very suspicious activities to do leading the 2 to 3 days before a big presidential event in your area, and you would think that you would take notice.
We just played moments ago a video of the current, I don't want to get ahead of myself, the current director of the Secret Service at the floor of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee being basically accosted by Republican lawmakers who were furious. We know that there are 3 investigations into security failures underway, but with so much evidence already of security failures, people are calling on her to resign. Should she?
Yeah, I think that's right. Look, I've said this in that video is not leadership, right? She conducted, or her deputy, I understand, conducted a phone call with members of Congress the day before. It wasn't very satisfying. They had a lot of questions that went unanswered. And so what did she do? She decided to come to the RNC, where, again, you're going to find Republican members of Congress and she didn't have any answers for him, and she walked away. She turned her back and said, now's not the time to do this. What she should have said is, let's go to a private room, and I'm happy to answer all your questions. And so it's a bad look. It's a bad look for the service. It's not what leadership looks like. It's not what accountability looks like. And I don't know how she survives all of this.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.